to Shlishi, the third Aliyah. And here the Torah introduces something again, which it mentioned earlier in Vayikra, the Shlomim, the peace offering, as it's called in English. The Shlomim is a different type of a carbon, and the beauty of the Shlomim is that it's like a different level of kedusha that came with this particular carbon. It's interesting, it's called a Shlomim. Now, so in English we translate it, and that's a whole discussion, maybe not for now. We use words in English that mean absolutely nothing in Karbanos. They're so influenced by non-Jewish content. We speak of Karbanos as a sacrifice. That's not what a carbon means. Carbon comes sort of karav, to come close to Hashem. We bring these, that's a sacrifice, that's not even a Jewish word, sacrificing. It's the idea of who's coming closer to Hashem. Shlomim also, not necessarily like a peace offering, but it's more of the idea of shleimus, of completing, of helping figure out what to do. So the carbon shlomim, and I'll read the words, can be brought im ala toda, if you're bringing it for thanks, then there's a whole idea of how to carry it out. But here suddenly we're introduced, a pasuk later, al chalos lechem chometz yakriv karbono. Whoa, chometz. Now, 99% of all karbonos had no chometz. The Beis Hamikdash, you should know, was kosher for Pesach, as they say in Yiddish, agantzior. But no chometz in the chas v'sholom. Everything, including the lechem aponim, were not chometz. Yet, for some karbonos, you have chometz, for the carbon toda. That's why Erev Pesach many communities have a custom not to say mizmor l'soda, because it came along with chametz. But here we bring chametz. And of course, in all these cases, you have Zvikas Adamim, that continues. So we go on. But here, a new halach is introduced, and that is that nosar mi bosar hazevach bayom hashlishi be'esh tisaref. Very different idea, which is now that with the Shlom we're introduced to the concept that certain karbanos had to be eaten by a certain time, and by the third day, if you didn't do it, they all had to be burnt. The beauty again, this is Kodesh. It was Kodesh Hashem. It was not for your own, like you went to the restaurant, you got yourself a good barbecue. The Beis Hamikdash was a wonderful place for barbecuing. Without mentioning names of particular places, wherever you're listening to, you get that smell. But imagine, and here you have it mentioned in this parsha, and even in this aliyah, the idea of ketores that's thrown in here, which suddenly adds a beautiful smell to it. In fact, Yerushalmi says that the ketores in the Beis Hamikdash, one was able to smell all the way to Yericho. And of course, eventually we'll come to the ketores too. And then the parsha goes on, and as it describes all these, it also speaks of nefesh asher tochal bosar mizevach shlomim asher Hashem, but v'tumasa olav, but the person is impure. Whoa! Suddenly we're introduced to a whole section of things that disqualify the carbon, or it actually brings the person, sadly, to an isakaris, because right after that is v'nichras soha nefesh ahi me'amel, and it's over. And then the Torah goes on, and this aliyah finishes with the introduction of something that has nothing to do for Kohanim. It has to do with all of us, Ad Hayom Hazeh, which is the eating of chelev. And the pasuk will say, Daber al b'nei Yisrael. Up until now, every little discussion was Aaron u'banav Kohanim. Suddenly, no. Daber al b'nei Yisrael lemor kol chelev. Of all the animals you bring for yourselves, absolutely, you should not eat fats. Part of what we eat in kosher meat is the fat of these animals are trimmed. And therefore here, the Torah digresses almost. So as much as this is Torah's Kohanim, the whole book is for Kohanim. No. There are the ideals here that come to the individual foods of people. And by the way, that's the same way Shas is set up. You have Zvachim, Menachos, and then comes Chulin. So Zvachim and Menachos are the Karbanos we just discussed. Then comes Chulin, when you shecht an animal for yourself.